This many people are willing to not watch football to come to a seminar. Thank you. My name is Dave Crispin. I'm the Senior Director of State and Industry Affairs at MBWA and also the Staff Manager for the BIECC. BIECC, for those of you who don't know, we'll have a booth set up all week. We are a working group of brewers, distributors, importers. We interact with retailers quite a bit and seek industry solutions in all things e-commerce. And one of the things we do each year is put together a seminar here, and thrilled to have the panel we have up here today. I'm going to be quick so that you guys can hear from them. We have a Twitter wall at the MBWA convention this year. 2 years ago, we wouldn't have known what that was. So this is a big emergent thing, and just by how full this room is, it seems like social media and everything around it is just growing day by day. So fantastic program today. I'm going to turn it over to Mark Silva. We are recording here today. This will be, we figured we're doing social media, so we're going to have this whole seminar up on YouTube. We're going to have the slide deck up for you as well. I guess you can say we're being green by not doing the handouts, but all of this will be available to you afterwards. We have a list of everyone who's registered, so we'll email it out. Please do fill out your blue evaluation forms at the end. And for those distributors in the room, as soon as we conclude here, upstairs from 3 to 5 is a distributor member meeting. Please don't miss that. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to Mark Silva to do some self-introductions and introduce the great panel we have today. So thank you all for coming.
Thanks, David, and thanks for having us here. Thanks, like David said, for carving some time out. I once saw Steve Jobs, and it's kind of a good time to talk about Steve Jobs, when he was presenting Next back in the day. And he said during his presentation that the likelihood for the presentation blowing up increased with the importance of the folks in the room. So if we have any kind of technical difficulty, start patting yourself on the back. It means you're very important. Anyway, to kick off a little bit about me and why I'm up here is I founded realbeer.com back in the day, one of the first 100 commercial websites out there called Career Mosaic, and also launched, I don't know, good trivia in the room, Marin Brewing Company was was the first brewery in the entire world online. So did all that, and since then have been growing a great digital agency and a larger agency now. So when we were asked to bring this together, it was originally talking about social, and we really can't talk about social and divorce it from the idea of what's going on in mobile, and more importantly with location-based activation. So we want to talk a little bit about that, and before we do, I wanted to take a moment to introduce our speakers here, and in order of the presentation to you, and then we'll really turn this into a lot more Q&A because we want to hear what you guys want from us as well. Kathy Benning is the EVP of Global Marketing and Brand Development over at Buffalo Wild Wings. I love these guys because they have beer in their tagline. I can't imagine a more beer-friendly environment, so it was really great having her up here. And then Steven Sermon joins us from Anheuser-Busch InBev. And that was about a year, right? Just approaching first year one, yeah. Before that, P&G for many years. And so classic brand background, and really great to have that. Bob is running world-class beers at Monarch and is the head of social media there. Brian is joining us as Vice President of Technology and Development at Elixir Distributing. So we wanted to have the strong voice of the distributor here as well. And then, probably without requiring any introduction, Kim Jordan, the co-founder and CEO and president of New Belgium Brewing Company. It's not surprising that a lot of the great things that happen in beer are being innovated there at New Belgium. She's got a real passion for innovation, even though at her heart she's got an analog soul. So looking forward to pulling this whole panel together. Maybe you guys can help us with a little bit of our framework as well. Just do the usual show of hand things. How many of you own a smartphone? That's everyone, right? I would say that's everyone. You're a little bit more than the general population, which is approaching 50%. Just show of hands, which one? How many Apple? Nice. Okay, there we go. There's a fight going on here. Android? Excellent. Welcome, Droid heads. And how many other? Excellent. What kind of others? BlackBerry? BlackBerry? Okay. I got some bad news for you. Anyway, sorry about that. All right. And then help us get a little bit grounded in social media. How many of you are on Facebook? Wow, again, almost the whole room. All right. 3 or 4 of you connect with us afterwards. We'll friend you up. We'll look you up. How many of you are on Twitter? Okay, I expected fewer. That's good. How many of you have ever checked in? Okay, and because you're distributors, how many of your sales teams have checked in somewhere at an account? All right, we've got to change this. Okay, good. That's why we're here. That's good. All right, so with all the smartphones in the room and with the advent of smartphone, and when David talks about it's changing year over year and month over month, I mean, it's changing day over day right now. Gartner in July announced that advertising revenue on mobile was going to be $3.3 billion. And this last week, Larry Page over at Google said that they're already doing $2.5 billion. So I don't think they own 2/3 of it. There's something amazing going on here. And so again, we can't talk about it talk about social without talking about local and mobile. And the term that's being used in the Valley is solo-mo, social, local, mobile. You can add T if you want to add time, and do just for the heck of it, so you can go solo-mo to do, and sing it like a register. Anyway, we believe that solo-mo is the single biggest change in your business since the combustion engine. And I know when you make a thunderous statement like that, you're going to get some barbs and stuff like that. Believe me, this will be the largest thing that changes and transforms your business since someone put an automobile out there and made distributing a little bit easier. I want to make a little bit of an appeal for a smarter approach. As an advertising agency guy who's worked with Anheuser-Busch, who's worked with a lot of the micros, Sam Adams back in the day, and Dos Equis, Newcastle Brown, a lot of times we'd say, okay, well, what are we going to do in market once we do the global advertising big idea? And they'd say, well, we're doing out of home and print. And we go, well, why? Oh, maybe some radio. And we said, why? Well, because our distributors seem to sell more beer when we put out of home and print in the market. And what I'm asking you guys to do is challenge that assumption. By the end of this, I'm hoping that what you're going to say when a marketer brings to you a program, a supplier or a marketer brings to you a program that doesn't have social, local, and mobile to it, go back to the drawing board. That's what they're doing in the Valley. Every Valley company, if it doesn't have a mobile or social component, go back to the drawing board. Probably isn't relevant today. And I'll show you some of the shift and why. We're going to look under the dynamics of social and mobile, what happens, and then solo-mo for the 3 tiers. So let's do this. Oh, by the way, if you're tweeting, anybody who's tweeting here? Go ahead and use that hashtag NBA Vegas. You can also find me on @MarkSilva. If you do either of those, I'll be searching those later on to help field some questions as well. There it is, the 3 horsemen of mobile. Sorry, BlackBerry folks. And by the way, you're the majority in the room here, so believe me, you've got a very good case against me. But Apple, commanding lead. Android globally, absolutely massive. But what you may not know about is Nokia over in China and in India is totally beating the pants off of Apple and Android there. And when you see what's coming from them, you're going to see some advertising coming up in the next 6 months that'll be exactly like what the Droid did to the Motorola Droid did to the Android's platform. When you saw the growth of Android, November of 2009, when Motorola put all that money in the market, about $30 million worth of advertising in the market, that platform took off. You're going to see the same thing happen with Windows, and it's not going to, surprisingly, it's not going to come from Microsoft. It's going to be coming from their partners. So what are we seeing? We're seeing sort of a battle between, it was sort of legendary battle between Google and Android, and of course Android likes to take the piss out of everybody. And again, RIN probably isn't going to be there. But who's winning on all this stuff? The great thing about this is who's winning is the consumer. All of us who are getting amazing, amazing capabilities, things that just didn't even happen. I don't know if you know, but your phone today is more powerful than the camera that the guys were carrying in CNN in the first Gulf War. I mean, it's more powerful than that. This phone is that much more powerful, and the connectedness of it. And as we look globally about what happens when people are connected at the same time simultaneously, about what happens is amazing. So let's talk about social and mobile. 50% of Facebook users access Facebook via mobile, and they do it, when they do, they have twice the number of activity. And by the way, that's just 350 million people, so it's not chump change. Twitter just announced that 55% of their users log in or access Twitter via mobile. So Twitter, a little bit differently than Facebook, doesn't think about people as how many people are actually logged into my system, because really they're more of like a news reporting system. They have 400 million people, uniques, who actually see that second generation, who see those tweets, follow those tweets, report those tweets, et cetera. So we're talking about massive, massive scale. We're talking about Super Bowl and larger sort of scale in terms of these platforms. So when you get that kind of scale, when you get that kind of activity, what does that mean when you put a local layer over it? Well, you finally have enough people in the same place doing things. So this is kind of funny. This is a little presentation that was just made last month at Facebook F8. When Zuckerberg came out, they had Andy Samberg of SNL come out playing the Zuck Dog. Check out the video on YouTube. It's pretty funny. But he was acting as though he was taking over Mark Zuckerberg's identity. So that was sort of the spoof that he was doing. But during that time, Zuckerberg made a law, and it's a law as important as a couple of other laws on the internet, like Metcalfe's law and Moore's law. Moore's law is driving that device that you've got there to get smarter and smarter, because it says that every 18 months the number of transistors that are going to be able to put on that phone gets more and more dense. Well, Zuck just said the same thing about sharing. He said that we are going to be sharing more. And at some point you say, well, really? Do I want to know anymore? Anyway, in human language, every year we're going to share twice as much as we did the year before. And you know why? Because we actually like it. Because we, and I do want to say the like. One of the things that people, this created a whole lot of flurry around privacy and everything else. What does that mean to me in terms of what am I sharing? Well, what Facebook did when they made their announcement at F8 was they had a bunch of apps like Spotify, for instance, whereas I'm listening to my music, my other friends can see my music, and on Springsteen's 62nd birthday, we were all listening to Born to Run together. It was a community sort of event that was happening. And so why will I share this information? Because it gets cooler. It becomes a lot better when it's simultaneous. So how are we complying with Zuck's law? We share links every day. We share likes. And by likes, I'm not just talking about thumbs up kind of likes. We share favorites on Twitter. We share ratings and reviews. We share loves. We share our status, our relationships, our experiences, our passions. That's around food and beer as well. We share ratings and reviews. With social gaming, we share tasks, which is really interesting. And now with Facebook announcements, we're going to start sharing our games, our movies, and more. So why do we give a Zuck? 468 million smartphones will be sold in 2011. It's a 58% increase. So when we talk about the month-over-month increase, it's absolutely insane. 100 million smartphones are in use today in the US. It's estimated somewhere between 36 and 43, whether you use Nielsen or ComScore. But 1 out of every 2 phones being sold today is a smartphone. So whether it's 36 or 43, I don't care. We know where it's going. I don't know if you get the image of the Matrix where he's like leaning backwards and he sees the bullets swinging by, and that's a smartphone going by you these days. I mean, that's how fast it's going. We all see where it's going. The other thing we see, and when you start adding some other kind of social, local, and mobile layers to it, is a recommendation from a trusted friend is up to 50 times more likely to activate a purchase. So we're talking virtual activity creating real-world transactions. That's why we care about this. Millennials, by the way, our 21 to 34-year-old, on average, own 2.4 connected devices. 62% of them are smartphones. So as you get a little bit younger, there's a little bit more concentration. And a third own a tablet. They're checking in, they're connecting with others, they're sharing their points of interest, and they're finding store locations. Those are some of the top things they're doing. And then there's a tablet. We haven't even started talking about the tablets. So today, as of today, smartphones and tablets outsold PCs. Next year, smartphones will outsell PCs. So as of today, apps have just outstripped all downloads of all time on music on the iTunes Store, as of today. So these are the amazing things that are happening. These are not activities that happened before. But what's going on with the tablet? Well, first of all, they're easy to use. Literally, they have gorillas testing the usability. You guys have seen this with a 1-year-old, 2-year-old. You ever seen this? I mean, they start using your TV like it's a swipey thing. They're trying to, there's probably paw prints all over your TV because they expect to swipe it. There's new usage patterns. 50% of iPad users purchased in the past month. So this is important that a lot of times they're researching, but they're actually driving transaction as well. And a 100% increase. So all of your businesses out there are adopting iPads at a 100% growth rate quarter over quarter. So you're seeing it in the market. You're probably seeing it in your customers. You're probably seeing it with even within your own organization. This is really interesting. This is daily and monthly shopping activity on a tablet. So I looked up specific product price for a specific store. That's 56%, 70%, that's in the past month on the blue line. 17% did that in the past month, are doing it on a regular basis. And then you have customer ratings, you have comparing product and pricing, searching for a nearby store, getting as specific as the retail level. So really you're checking inventory. I mean, there's a really important value that we as distributors can provide in the value chain there because consumers want it. So there's some new dynamics of playing in this environment. Number one is that there's no zero-sum winner-takes-all gameplay. So somehow you're going to have to make your data and your approach and your thinking available to others, even those that you've traditionally competed with. There's no one-size-fits-all playbook. Apple looks like the most traditional advertising in the world. If you look at how they buy out of home and everything else, how they put product first versus leading with an emotional buy, but it certainly works for them. There's no more objectifying channels and technology. When you see someone checking in, don't think that it's because they're checking in. Don't think that Twitter's 140 characters. It's not about 140 characters. It's much bigger than that. It's going to change the world at one hashtag at a time, as we saw with the Arab Spring. And then more and more, there's not really consumers but collaborators. So if you stop thinking about the consumer layer as simply a consumer layer, but if you start thinking about them as collaborators, contributors, curators, and champions in your marketplace for you and your brands, I think you're going to unlock some powerful opportunities here. So let's talk about Solo Mo, and I'm going to be moving very quickly now. It's credited by Kleiner Perkins, John Doerr. Shipments of smartphones and tablets we talked about. Mobile searches grew up 4 times last year. The reason why Google's earning $2.5 billion on a run rate this year is because 16% of total searches that they get are coming from mobile. 1 in 3 of those are local, and it converts like crazy. 61% of those people who have called, have searched, have called, and 59% visited, and 74% have purchased as a result of using smartphones. 79% of those brands that you work with don't even have a mobilely optimized website. So that's, again, if you want to, if your brand marketers are coming to you, it's a really simple question to ask them. Are you optimized for the tablet and for mobile, because that would really help me in my market. This is research from Jywire. Mobile drives in-store purchases. Research on mobile purchased in store, 31% increase in sales, and the plus 5% you see there is actually from Q1 to Q2, a 5% increase, and so we're seeing that kind of things. I'm going to leave a lot of the case studies to this. I want to tell you just one little aha we had by doing, we did a Foursquare promotion with Lipton Brisk, and we also did something with Tazo. Tazo did something with Whole Foods. And the one aha that we had with a lot of this, even more than the, sorry about the builds, even more than the fact that consumers were checking in and that drove check-ins by 500%. What we saw was, in this particular case on the East Coast, it was Hess, the 1,400 service stations. You guys know those guys? Hess, and you think about those guys are day workers, right? You think about the latte crowd with Whole Foods, but you think about kind of the day workers with the Hess service stations. Using smartphones, they're checking in. What we saw was, number one, was Hess, the retailer, gets really excited about you bringing innovative programs to them. And they probably put 200, 300% more effort behind it. And the sales, we all know, were due to that kind of effort, that kind of positioning, that kind of excitement that they had for it. And I guarantee you that your retailers are looking for custom programs for them that will excite them as well and that will help drive more people in. In this particular case, they also saw bundle sales of Frito-Lay and Brisk go up by 47% in market. So it actually sold. Why? The other aha that we had was that every consumer is an early adopter. When you pick up a phone, what's the first thing you do? It's probably not make a phone call. You're downloading apps. And you want to be a Foursquare person. You want to be you want to be tweeting. You want to be doing the stuff that's actually really cool. I just want to show you this. I'm not going to dwell on it, but at South by Southwest, and this is really just kind of a peek into what's coming here. At South by Southwest, which is like the uber geeky festival for nerds and tech heads and iPhone adopters and heavy users of social media, American Express did a little experiment with Foursquare. When you checked into a place, swiped your card, it knew you did. By the time you got your latte, you got a $5 credit or something you can give to charity. So it was that fast, that kind of instantaneous. So it's happening in real time. If you look at Pete's Coffee literally has checkouts. It stinks. The experience isn't good right now. Don't try to expect a great experience, but see what's happening. They've got an NFC enabled, that's near field computing communication, where you can just tap your phone right to a little device at checkout, and you can pay right there with your phone. So I really expect that in 2 years we're going to be talking a lot about mobile payments as part of the BIECC charter. This is just a comp we did, but if you can really imagine this as an app, right? You walk into a mall, you say, I want to buy an iPod, right? Like my little 8-year-old did the other day. I want to buy an iPod. I've been saving up gift cards and everything else. I'm ready to go. I could buy it at Apple. I could buy it at Best Buy, same sort of service. But I can save $40 if I use the Best Buy, open up a Best Buy credit card. I could actually go to this other retailer and where there's a Swarm, there's a Groupon special. All that stuff leads you to believe that this idea of perfect knowledge information symmetry is coming, where I can actually use my device to be more intelligent than I am. That's why I'm talking about a smarter approach, because our phones are getting smarter. And then for a lot of brands don't have to just have their own app. And although I'd argue every part of our business will be appified, but in-app searches, this just happens to be something called Jywire Compass, where people are literally trying to find their Wi-Fi login. And when they find their Wi-Fi login, there's all sorts of other stuff, like they can find out about the Buffalo Wild Wings, or where they can get a Blue Moon or a Shock Top or a Mothership Wit. I'm trying to keep with the style here. So the real question for you as distributors and for marketers is, how will you fit into this economy? So what we did for Google was we started contorting ourselves to the Google algorithm, saying, well, if I say this word enough times on my page, I'll get search ranked higher. We're contorting ourselves in terms of social media to get a higher clout score. So how are we going to contort our data so that it will actually be discovered and found by mobile? Because this is a reality. This is not going backwards. This is a reality. And so again, I'd argue that a lot of stuff that you're going to see from the case studies here are people who are creating content that looks like it's about social, and it looks like it's about that program that's in that market right now, but it's creating a groundswell of content that will be discovered and found for many years, and will be helping people find those beers when they need to be found. So a quick way to look at social mobile ROI, because the one thing I want you guys to really put the folks on the panel on the hot seat for here is, I want you to really challenge them on how they measure the ROI, because somehow, some way, you're going to say, how am I going to park someone on social? Or how am I going to park someone over on this? How do I divert resources from over here to there and rationalize it to the powers that be, or even if the power that be is me who's writing the check, how do we rationalize it? But I'd say that search engines and social rankers favor super fresh content. In the past 5 years, signals and sharing have eclipsed traditional web and content. So if you believe Zuck's law, and I do, that because people are sharing, it's the freshest content that's out there. How do you become part of that ecosystem? And the mobile web is consuming and creating these signals faster and better than before. So your ROI is really about being relevant. It's about being discovered and being relevant, because again, in this world, it's easy to be disintermediated by another rating and review. So just a quick little recap on what Solo-Mo means to 3 tiers. For brewers and marketers, and this is really when you start challenging, when you see programs in that is looks like a great promotion or a great below-the-line activity of some kind, say, where's the mobile part of that? Can you help me with the mobile part of it? Don't say just, where's my out of home or where's my radio spot? Start with a more intense conversation around specifically, how are you thinking about Solo-Mo? And put Solo-Mo at the core of your brand strategy. Every consumer is an early adopter. How do you appify and adjust to that? Think about using different partners and channels to bring custom solutions to market. So think about using a Foursquare. Think about using a social gaming company like Zynga as a way of bringing value to one of the bigger customers in your market. Execute locally, manage at scale. There's a lot of enterprise strength tools that allow you to manage multiple accounts at once. And then, the one little thing that a lot of us ask in the tech sense is, how would Steve Jobs do it? If you ask, it's What would Steve do? Yeah, so, yeah. What would Steve do is the constant thing to bring culture and elegance. So even if you get something, a lot of things I've seen from the distributors look like a good app or a good technology, but it doesn't have a very nice feel to it. It doesn't have that same sort of joy we get when we play with an iPhone or any of these other smartphones. So think about that. That usability is really a core part to it. And then for distributors, demand programs for your market that leads with Solo-Mo. Not just added as an afterthought. Value Solo-Mo over radio, print, and out of home. That's a radical way of thinking about it, but again, that's how Silicon Valley's thinking about it right now. Prioritize brands that bring custom solution for key accounts. Actually give them an open door. Give them the kind of treatment that you wouldn't others, because you'll get as much learning as they will in executing this. And prepare for this reality of perfect information by making your data available. And I know some of the partners here are going to be talking about that. So thank you. Kathy, we'd love to have you join us and talk a little bit about the how you're looking at Solo-Mo. And thank you.
I thought I was a fast talker. You have a lot of information in a very short amount of time. Hello, everybody. It really is it's a great pleasure to be standing in front of you today. I don't often have an opportunity to speak to a group of distributors and brewers like I have today. Typically, I'm speaking in front of franchisees or in industry shows. And so I'm going to ask you a question. How many of you have heard of Buffalo Wild Wings? Okay. How many have been to a Buffalo Wild Wings? Excellent. All right. How many of you have had our dry rubs? Okay, well, I brought just a small little gift for everybody. We just rolled these out about not even a year ago, and they are distributed throughout the country right now, only in our locations. There's 4 different types of seasonings, so if you want to use this as an opportunity to get to know each other and you want to barter back and forth your dry rubs, that would be great. But on with the show. I wanted to talk a little bit about who we are as a brand. We are celebrating our 30th anniversary next year. We were born in Columbus, Ohio back in 1982. We still have a ton of synergy in our Ohio markets. And just this year, Texas finally eclipsed Ohio as having the largest number of Buffalo Wild Wing locations, which is kind of crazy. A former chairman of the board told us, you know, if we could have 68 locations in every single state, because that's how many we had in Ohio at that time, we could, you know, go north of 3,000 locations, which we don't think we can do. We actually think we will peak out between around 1,400 locations. That's a public number, by the way. We are a public company, so everything I have to say today needs to be public. But it's exciting for us, and we have a real runway for growth. Just this year, we are opening about 100 locations, and especially on the East Coast and the West Coast, we really grew from kind of that central heartland of the U.S., and now we're growing out. We opened our first 3 international locations this year up in Canada, and I am also part of new business development, so we're looking international. I just got back from London last week, and we're thinking that the UK is going to be one of our first countries of entry beyond Canada. So we're excited about that. And when we think about social and local, actually social and digital, I'd say overall, we're really looking forward to activating on the digital platform as we grow, not only throughout the U.S., but throughout the world. Buffalo Wild Wings has a very specific strategy, and that is aligning against delivering the ultimate social experience for sports fans. And we do that through wings, cold beer, a great atmosphere for our guests, certainly centered around sports. And it's that engagement piece, and it's a focus on social. Different than what we've been even hearing today from Mark. It's social, that connection, that emotional connection that our guests make with each other and that we as managers are making with our guests. But what I wanted to do is actually show you a quick video about who we are so that I don't have to stand up here and spend any more time on who we are, but I thought I'd just play a quick video for you. Do I have to click it?
The year is 1982. Gas is 91 cents a gallon. Leg warmers and Walkmans are all the rage. Joan Jett loves rock and roll. Arnold is Conan the Barbarian. And Cal makes The Play, shocking Stanford and their band with no time left on the clock. Meanwhile in Ohio, Jim Disbro and Scott Lowry relocate from Buffalo, New York. They crave wings, but not just any wings. Spicy, saucy, mouth-watering Buffalo-style chicken wings. And so they create Buffalo Wild Wings. That was then, and this is now. We are bold, competitive, energetic. It's a game slathered in sauce, surrounded by a party. If Buffalo Wild Wings were a sports team, we'd be a friggin' dynasty. We're wings, beer, sports. All the necessary elements in one awesome place. A community of sports fans, 14 unique Buffalo Wild Wings signature sauces and 4 tasty seasonings. The best draft beer, personalized service, best-in-class technology for sports watching and gaming. In other words, Buffalo Wild Wings is the ultimate social experience for sports fans. So there's just one thing left to say. How you like me now? We are all part of this brand. What matters is that we use it. We should embrace our spirit, day in, day out, game day, every day. Don't just live the brand, be the brand.
Okay, so we ended by saying, be the brand, and how can we be the brand? And I've already shared this, and we said it in the video. It is about delivering the ultimate social experience for sports fans. Technology. And this is what I mean by that. This is this next. We have this very, very sweet spot in which there's a social dynamic, and that's that emotional connection I'm talking about right now, and then this sports experience reality. And we look at that intersection as something that we can deliver to our fans throughout the country as the only national sports bar here in the US, is being able to deliver on that sweet spot, the social and as well as that sports piece. And I'm going to take you right to the top of this funnel we have here. We believe anyone can serve wings. In fact, you see this out there all the time. We have competition, you've seen them, they're serving wings. Even the QSRs are serving wings right now. A lot of individuals actually that you're in contact with daily are serving wings and beer, and then wings, beer, and sports. We see a lot of competitors and even folks that we wouldn't consider our competition throwing TVs within their 4 walls. But we believe it's this service and experience component, that emotional connection, that sociability that is going to really set Buffalo Wild Wings apart from us. So then you might ask, well, how do you integrate social media or digital media into a brand that's really emotional? And it's a really good question, and it's one that I challenge myself, I challenge our teams to, I challenge distributors and brewers to think beyond just the traditional media. Because the reality is, traditional media is still very, very important for Buffalo Wild Wings. So the cool TV commercials, which have to break through the clutter, which takes a lot these days, unique and different radio commercials. We don't do print. It's not part of our DNA right now. It doesn't drive business traffic, doesn't drive our experience. But then there's this alignment to social media, and it's really bigger than social, it's digital. And so we have to align our strategies then against digital overall. We've had in the past, really up until about 2010, last year, where we had different strategies that would align traditional media, and then we had another social media platform, then we had another mobile media platform, and it was just getting too convoluted for us. And so what we've done as a brand, and believe me, we've been around, right, for 30 years. I've been around Buffalo Wild Wings for almost 15, and it was working for us to do these individual strategies. This year it was like, gotta align them, and part of it is because social and digital is being used by our guest, and mobile especially. In fact, 50% of our website traffic right now comes through our mobile website. And we just unveiled a mobile website about 12 months ago. But I don't feel like it was behind the eight ball either, because sometimes it's the sexiest thing to do. You know, let's throw an app out there, let's get into mobile, let's get into, you know, some social media, whether it's YouTube or Twitter. If we can't do it right, then we as a brand have said we first have to focus within our four walls, which is the local piece, which I'll talk about in a minute, and then we're going to augment that with the social components, and even within our four walls from that local standpoint. Who are we aligning, whether it's traditional media or digital media, who are we aligning against? Well, I have two targets, and I wanted to just share a real quick overview. We have social captains and sports loving Joes. Our social captains, very tech savvy, very much first ins. They like the latest and greatest from a technology standpoint. We know these guys and gals as good as we need to right now. In fact, I felt we needed to understand them a little bit better. So this year, we engaged in a new segmentation study, and I can dig into my social captains even further, and I guarantee that they are being driven by mobile. They're being driven by anything digital right now. In fact, they're doing 2, 3, 4 things in front of them. Our sports loving Joes, not so tech savvy. They love to be social though. They love the social. It's much more emotional, I would say, for them. They'll have the iPhone. They like to be kind of first in, but they're not using it as much as our social captains. And so for me, it's important to understand, and for you, it would be important to understand how to engage the different segments. So we do that as we move forward and plan our calendar for the year. I'm going to transition now into kind of the social, local, mobile component right now. This is very traditional for us, but even as traditional as digital, our website is, we need to make it unique and different and interactive. And how many of you have been on our website? So, okay, go to our website, buffalowildwings.com. It's interactive. So anywhere you put, click on the site, the beer might be filling up. You'll hear about latest promotions. You'll hear about great partnerships, certainly on the beer side of things for us. So again, even though it's traditional digital marketing for us, we believe our website's very, very important. We do also paid search. Literally the most non-glamorous kind of digital you can do, but for us it's very, very important, and this is why it would be important for everybody here. We are buying search terms, so anywhere from Buffalo Wild Wings to wings to beer to sports to the latest game, we buy all these words. If people are clicking on our site or words, they click in Buffalo Wild Wings, they come to our site. They then go into location-based services, because that's the number one thing folks are looking for actually on our site. That's going to help all of us in this room, because as soon as I can get somebody into our four walls, then beer is going to be sold. And so that's really the message here, is the more that I can understand and do my digital marketing, especially in a more aggressive manner, everybody will benefit. From a social media standpoint, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and we've got about 5.3 million Facebook fans right now. And the number sounds really great, but you might ask, oh, how do you activate them, and how do you look at an ROI? Well, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at number of clicks. We're looking at intent to visit. We're actually looking at the engagement between fans, because a really interesting thing about our site is that our fans are fueling our site. They don't like it when we get online and start talking about promotions within the restaurant. We'll get comments back, stop being so corporate. And so we find that we have to either be talking very much in the voice of the fan, or we just need to kind of stay out of it. And the very interesting thing is, from a crisis management, I kind of, challenged our team back. I'm like, yeah, but what if there's some negativity happening out on the site? Don't we want to, be right on top of that? Well, the reality is our fans protect us. They protect our corporate brand. And if somebody's talking negative about us or a bad experience that they had, our fans are actually coming to our rescue as a brand. It doesn't happen with every brand, but it happens with the Buffalo Wild Wings brand. So that's interesting information, and most brands can't say that. From a Twitter standpoint, we just are moving into the Twitter arena right now. About a year and a half ago, it seemed that Twitter was taking a nosedive, was very much celebrity-driven, and didn't really feel like it was the place for Buffalo Wild Wings to be. We're real, we're casual, we're just not celebrity-driven. It's made a resurgence, and so we're quick to be on that trend, and we're using it very much from an HR standpoint, and then from an engagement standpoint right now as well. So we expect to have probably 20,000 fans via Twitter right now. I think we're north of 8,000. And we just unveiled it soft about 4 or 5 weeks ago. But the message there is that we're not first in much of this, the glory of digital, because we need to do it right. And mobile's a good example of that. We have, and actually had a great idea for a mobile app. And it was the alignment with the NFL and the NCAA, and we were aligning with some of our great beer partners. And what happened is it wasn't working for us because we couldn't use the rights, of course, to the NFL. We couldn't use the rights to the NCAA. And all of a sudden, a great idea that was presented really came crashing and burning. So, I put the brakes on it. And most people say, oh, my God, you're putting the brakes on a mobile app. Well, yeah, we are. Because what was going to happen is they weren't going to have our location-based services and they weren't going to have our menu ready. Well, those are the top two things that, it's kind of that easy stuff that folks are visiting us for. So the message is, as important as it is, if it doesn't fit within an overall brand's strategy, and certainly within our strategy, then we're gonna take baby steps to do that. Scavenger is a check-ins, much like Foursquare. We're an innovative brand. We like to do things differently. We like to actually zag. I don't know if you've ever heard of Marty Neumeier. Marty writes a book called Zag, and the idea is most companies zig, 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 and if you zag, you're really going to be different and you're going to create a point of differentiation. So my philosophy for our brand is the more we can zag, the more we're going to differentiate ourselves and the more we're going to be able to protect our brand. We got involved with Scavenger through Coca-Cola, our partner, and it was a check-in based service. And first time we ever did it, it was honestly a lot of work, but it has been super successful. And unlike Foursquare, which was kind of mainstream, this was a new opportunity for us. The PR value on this was tremendous. And again, any exposure drives people and guests into our brand, which all tides rise, and we're all benefiting in this room because of that. I wanted to move a bit into the local piece. For Buffalo Wild Wings, it really is marketing and engaging with our guests within the four walls. And from a brand standpoint, we have Beer of the Month campaigns throughout the year, and we do it for domestic, craft, imports, as well as the spirit side of things. The important thing to realize is that we're moving down, we're listening to what our guest is saying, and what our guest is saying is this: they had no idea how many beers we served. I mean, they were thinking we had 5, 6, 7 taps. Well, all of our restaurants have over 20 taps, and many are upwards of 30. And we're really getting into, in addition to the domestic side of things, we're focusing on the crafts as we move forward because our guest is telling us that. And so each month we're going to be focusing from a local standpoint, and that's really where we can use the local distributor as a partner of Buffalo Wild Wings as well. Couple of things to just share visually with you now from a 2012 and moving into the future standpoint. What you'll notice is everything is going to be aligned against our guest experience. So whether it's a social or a digital campaign or a national media campaign or a beer experience or a food experience, we have 6 windows this year from a vertical planning standpoint. So when our national reps are coming in and chatting with you and talking about what's going on from a Buffalo Wild Wings standpoint, it's going to be easier this year. We're not horizontally planning where we're just whipping things in throughout the year. We're going to have these six different windows. And we are going to be activating on this social media standpoint as well. And so much like you were saying, Mark, it's how can we really engage not only from more that traditional media, but on the social side as well. That was just another visual on that. Last slide I have. I was asked the question, if I could share just a couple of things on how you might be able to work with a brand, not only Buffalo Wild Wings, but maybe brands in general on the retail side. For us, I would say work with your national account managers. It really is helpful for us. We've got, of course, our national plan. We want to drive that locally. We think that's where we're going to really have a big bang for the buck. But if we can focus on similar brands within that window, that's going to make it easier for everybody. Definitely engage in local restaurant level promotions. Activate our national promotions on a local level. That's where the excitement can come. And there's always advertising opportunities. I know it's in some states we can't do that, but tying in and partnering probably on that traditional side of things as well. And the last point, kind of selfishly, pricing strategy is really important to Buffalo Wild Wings as well. Our guests are seeing a value declining a bit. So in addition to all the promotions, it's important for us to always keep pricing in mind so that we're not pricing outside of our guest comfort level, and so that and they stop coming into our locations. So, but I would say we're doing great from a pricing standpoint right now. It's just kind of looking at the future. But thank you so much for allowing me to have some time in front of you, and I know we're all going to be open for conversation and questions later. Okay.
Great, thank you. As Mark mentioned earlier, my name is Steve Sermon. I am Vice President Digital Strategy with Anheuser-Busch, working across our U.S. portfolio. And I'm particularly excited to be here today for a number of reasons. Not only are we here in beautiful Las Vegas talking about beer, but we're talking about a very interesting topic. And it's especially interesting for me because it's been a number of years working in the feminine protection business. And while that was tremendously educational, it's not a large opportunity to make that business social. Whereas beer is inherently social. And so I think we're all having a good time here today and in our various roles with our various companies. I'll skip over this, not the most impressive picture. But what I want to do today is jump right into some of our digital, mobile, and local activations. I'm going to focus on, I believe, 5 different brands, starting with Bud Light, Port Paradise. Many of you guys have seen this program. Many of you guys have helped us activate this program on premise. And the basic execution was to invite consumers, our fans, to reach out to their friends and family members and create crews of 4. Themselves plus 3 other individuals, largely through on-premise activation and through our Facebook presence. They'd create as many crews of 4, as many unique crews of 4 as they could, and each one would be an entry in a sweepstakes to win a trip on Port Paradise. And if those of you who've been lucky enough to go, you know that Port Paradise rivals some of the parties on the Strip here in Las Vegas. This is a phenomenal time. So left-hand side of the screen, the slide, you see our Facebook presence where we're inviting our consumers to either start a crew or join a crew. Top right-hand corner, you can see crews that have been created and crewmates that are part of those crews. Bottom right-hand corner, you'll notice I've blacked out names. Consumer privacy is very important to us, but wanted to show some of the comments and the engagement that we saw on our Facebook page behind this promotion. This promotion we've been executing for a number of years. We activated on package with snap tags. We activated on premise, working with you guys, as I mentioned, and on Facebook because it is inherently social in a category that itself is inherently social. So tremendously successful program for us. Very proud of this program, and I think you'll see great things from Bud Light moving forward. Some screenshots from the cruise itself, so you can see the ship, top left-hand corner. Bottom left-hand corner, a little bit difficult to see. This is a private concert, so these ships actually dock at a private island where we have a number of acts hold a private concert for our fans. The far right-hand side, you can see something that's relatively new for us. We've actually installed mobile Facebook kiosks on these ships where consumers can create with their own photos postcards, virtual postcards, and send postcards back to their friends and family members, not necessarily with the intent of rubbing in the fact that they're having such a great time, as much as it is to share that great time with their friends and family members and make it even more of a social experience. Saw a number of hands raised earlier when we asked how many individuals in the room had iPhones or Android devices or other smartphones. Wanted to talk a little bit about Shock Top Virtual Sip. Have you guys seen this program? No? Are you familiar with piezoelectric technologies? So last March and April, we partnered with a company called 41 Technology, and they had a very unique capability to be able to emit taste and smell from a smartphone. So we partnered with them behind a program for Shock Top to allow consumers to taste and smell Shock Top from their mobile phone. The top left-hand corner, you can see we had a video from the brewmaster talking about how the app was able to replicate the tastes and smells very, very accurately. Bottom left-hand corner, you can see some news coverage. This was picked up by Fox News Network in San Diego. But the mobile app was a core component of this. So
You've been licking part where you can taste it.
I am not licking an iPad.
Lick it. Come on.
Virtual sip is going to blow people's minds.
Now, to do this, we use piezoelectrics, which are materials capable of turning mechanical energy into usable energy recognizable by the senses. We call it virtual sip.
Oh, that's weird.
Shock Top app. Get your virtual sip on. Download that app. It's shocking and it's topical.
What is that?
I'm not talking to you.
Your reactions.
I would have gotten up and left the same.
Because there's an app apparently for everything.
Yeah, this was an April Fool's joke. There it is, America. Licking iPads.
That's not funny. So on, buddy.
So I apologize for the length of the video, but I could not have possibly communicated that program as well as that video did. Great work by the Shock Top team, as in the case with Bud Light Port Paradise, by the Bud Light team. And what you can take away from this is the focus wasn't necessarily mobile or social or even local, although it was activated and executed in each of those areas. The focus was on the experience. This was taking a very social category with very, very social consumers, the Shock Top demographic, and building a very, very social experience. And that's why I think you saw the successes that we had. It wasn't a mobile execution or even a digital execution at large as much as it was an experience that the brand was bringing to these consumers. Talk a little bit now about Michelob Ultra, program from last winter. And in this particular case, Michelob Ultra, very aligned with smarter living, active, healthy lifestyles. The insight here was that resolutions are very easy to make and very difficult to keep. And the quality of resolutions made increases based on how social those resolutions are. And so what Michelob Ultra did, primarily on Facebook through its Facebook presence, but also through mobile, is encourage consumers to make more social resolutions, and to make those resolutions social, to communicate those resolutions to friends and families within their social network, and in doing so, make it easier for them to keep those resolutions moving forward. So that's part of the execution here on the left-hand side. Was an app that would evaluate consumer status updates and let you know how balanced your life was in a number of areas, whether it was active lifestyle or work, those types of things. On the right-hand side, motivational videos from Lance Armstrong. In the bottom right, mobile text message reminders and motivations from the brand to consumers who are making their resolutions in the social space to encourage them to keep those resolutions moving forward rather than drop them if you're anything like me after the first 2 weeks of January. Another program I'll talk about is Band of Buds. For those of you who are familiar with this program, this is a program that's currently in full swing right now. It's a program that's been running for a number of years, started June, July this year, and it's basically a call to our consumers to create the ultimate band of buds. Yourself plus three other friends, define what your band of buds is all about, and then compete online through our Band of Buds property in the bottom right-hand corner in a number of different challenges. Some of those challenges take the consumer offline into their local market. And then we have 20 casting call parties around the country at various on-premise accounts where these bands will be competing for the right to win a trip to Vegas and participate in the championship here later in December. Again, all activated in the social space, whether it's through our Band of Buds.com property, which is very, very social enabled, things like Facebook shares and likes and other things of that nature, but also through the mobile handheld device as well. So a number of the challenges call for users or consumers rather to download the Band of Buds application to document their completion of challenges. Again, another experience that spans mobile, social, and local. And I have videos. So one more program to share with you, BIECC Green Box. This has been in the news quite a bit lately. Some of you may have seen this. The basic idea is that BIECC has partnered with several hundred different artists, both here domestically and internationally, to bring augmented reality art showcases into a local market. And so this season, we had these green boxes. They're 2 by 2 meters cubed, dropped into Miami, LA, and New York. And consumers that had the mobile app, the BIECC Green Box app on their phone, could hold that app up and view the green box through the viewfinder on the mobile app, and they would see a virtual reality art exhibit. So tremendously cutting edge in terms of the technology with respect to mobile. But again, the important thing is that it's not technology focused, it's experience focused. And so the bottom of the screen, you can see some of the artists that the brand is working with, an example of the green box, and it's tough to see, but bottom right-hand corner, you can see a virtual reality cube. It's almost like a hologram when viewed through the mobile app viewfinder that appears only for those consumers that have the mobile app on their phones. Some other examples that were executed, again, Miami, New York, and LA, and soon to be other cities as well. And you can take a look at those. I believe we're going to send the PDF out. But you can also go to the BIECC's website and view all the exhibits and artists that the brand is partnered with. So I believe that's it. And I'll be around later for questions if there are any questions. But thank you very much. And the one thing that I'll leave you with, again, is focus on experiences and less on the technology. And it's not to say any of us really focus on the technology, but that's an easy pitfall to step into. And when you focus on those experiences, your programs are bigger and better and more rewarding all around for the consumers, for the brewers, for the retailers, and for the distributors as well. Thank you.
Let me do a quick. Thank you. Let me do a quick full stop because I don't want us to run out of time between the presentations and questions. Anybody have a question now for the panel around anything you've seen so far? All right, good. Let me put one provocation out to you. Would you value the programs that Stephen just showed you as much as you would that out-of-home that you drive by past every day, that sits right outside your distributorship, and move budget maybe even out of digital out-of-home into something like that? Would you be able to evaluate that as valuable or more valuable, and would the higher-ups in your organization be able to do so? Let me just leave you with that thought as we go through a couple more thoughts along these lines, and then hear from a couple of distributors as well.
Okay, thanks, Mark. My name is Bob Mack, and I work for a division of the Monarch Beverage Company called World Class Beer. We're a beer distributor in the state of Indiana, and I want to give you a little bit about our perspective as a distributor and how we fit into this world of local, social, and mobile. A little bit of background about us. World Class Beverages was our name when it was started 9 years ago. And Monarch Beverage Company, by the way, is a 15 million case Miller Coors distributor. They sell Heineken, Corona, Diageo, and many other brands, including craft brands. But in 2002, my boss, Jim Scambry, who's sitting in the second row here, proposed to Monarch that we might get a little better traction with some of the smaller brands, the local brands, and craft brands if we had a separate dedicated sales force who was talking about and selling only those brands. So at that point, a subdivision of Monarch was formed called World Class Beverages with a handful of salespeople that focused only on those brands. One of the key elements to Jim's proposal was that we were going to be consumer focused, and we were going to talk directly to the consumer and be transparent to them and share information with them. One of the things we did initially, or Jim did initially, was a thing called Beer Finder, and he set up a website that was built around simply sharing our sales history, searchable by zip code, with the consumer. Certainly at that time, and even still today, sometimes those craft brands are not in every store on every shelf. So we wanted to make it easy for the consumer to find those brands. So that was something he did initially. Our specialized focus was intended to bring some benefits to Monarch Beverage Company. Some of the core concepts that we were built around was to create a share of mind within our sales force for craft brands. We wanted to create and inspire beer passion, bringing new drinkers and consumers into the beer category in general, and certainly specifically into the craft and specialty category. We wanted to educate consumers and retailers. Still a challenge for us that some of our retailer partners who are in some cases eager even to get into the craft and specialty category need to arm themselves and their salespeople with more knowledge about it in order to be effective selling it and attract those craft beer consumers. We were very social in our approach, meaning that we talked to retailers, consumers, suppliers about any and every aspect of what it was we were doing. And again, talking directly to consumers about those brands, where they were, and what was happening with them. Very much local first, specifically trying to build the local beer scene with local brands we felt was much more attractive to the general consumer who wasn't in our category already. A great place to transition them, that they would drink an Indiana beer, perhaps, before they might try something else if they were just getting into the category. And very importantly, Jim's intent was to create a culture or to create a division in which we lived in the beer culture. Our salespeople are beer geeks. Many of them are Cicerone or BJCP certified. So we talk the language because we love it. We're passionate about it ourselves, and I think that makes it a lot easier for us to communicate and share and inspire and create that passion. Some of the benefits we felt to Monarch Beverage were going to be incremental sales, basically adding additional cases that we weren't already selling that potentially certainly our competitor might ultimately sell. They were higher dollar cases in many instances, meaning that we were basically getting more value per case, even though it was a smaller percentage of our overall sales than it would be for some of the bigger brands. We feel that we gained some relevance to suppliers, consumers, and retailers in a growing category. It was growing certainly even back in 2002, 2003, continues to grow, and we feel like we've been there and been a part of it and really learned a lot about that space. Our salespeople within the world-class beer division are generally perceived by our retailer partners as beer experts. So very often our retailer partners are coming to our salespeople with questions or concerns about brands even that we don't carry. And we feel that that gives us something of an advantage in communicating and programming with those retailers. We also feel that it has helped us to attract and to retain quality suppliers in the craft and specialty category. Boulevard, I think, would be a good example of a brand we picked up about 3 years ago, who I think immediately we hit it off with because we spoke that language and we lived in that space, and we understood that their brand was about quality and what it meant or could mean potentially to our market, and we were able to communicate that back to our retailer partners. Bell's is a brand that we've had for many years and kind of is still our leading brand as the major regional brand in our area, and we've developed a very, very strong partnership with Bell's, I think in great part based on the fact that we have a tremendous admiration, respect, and enthusiasm for what it is they do with their brand and their beers. Want to just give you a little bit of a graphic representation of kind of the different space that I think World Class occupies versus our main Monarch beverage division. World Class is represented here in the red, Monarch in the blue. And I'm going to say, just as a preface to this, this is evolving. This is not constant. I think we've learned a lot from our Monarch parent division, and we do things better in many ways than we did a few years ago, and vice versa. So in some ways, we're kind of evolving together. But World Class is much more of a focus on the craft specialty brands, obviously, being social and being in that space with social media. Very much eager and participating in mobile. Our website is mobile optimized, and we communicate through a lot of mobile channels, certainly social media channels like Twitter and Facebook, very actively. We have a very strong local brand focus, looking to even brewers who we don't represent yet, some startup breweries, maybe not even quite technically breweries yet. We're very eager to work with those people and talk with them in our markets because, again, we believe that building the local beer culture is ultimately critical to our success in selling the craft and specialty category in Indiana. And again, we're very consumer-oriented, as you can see the red point out there. I would say, again, though, this has evolved. Monarch is doing a much better and more aggressive job in mobile and social than they used to, and they've actually done a much better job in the craft category as craft has continued to expand. But I like to think that we're symbiotic and that we have positive influences on each other going in both directions. Some of the tools that we use to participate in social, local, mobile. Website was number one. It's been around, and traditional media perhaps is something we call website today. I don't quite still think of it as traditional media, but we were a relative early adopter of kind of the Web 2.0 concept where there needed to be some interaction on the website. Important to point out that I've always kind of felt strongly that a website shouldn't be just a billboard or a brochure that you put up on a web page and leave it go. I think it needs to be dynamic. I think there needs to be a reason for people to come back to it. And as distributors, I think we have new brands, new products, new events every day. So it was fairly easy for us to find ways to keep fresh content going into that website. We have a tool we call Beer Spy today. We used to call Beer Finder. We post our sales history on our website, and it's searchable by zip code. Pure and simple, a consumer can find any brand or package that we carry by simply typing in their zip code, and it shows on a list and maps the retailer closest to that location that carries the brand or product that they're looking for. That is something I think we have uniquely available to us as distributors that we can share with consumers and that can make a real impact on their ability to make those purchase decisions. Any given day, by the way, and this fluctuates day to day because we refresh data and update it daily, we have as many as 500,000 distribution points on our website. Not just Indiana, but amongst the 25 other wholesaler partners that we now share that website with. So we actually are in 25 different states, and there are as many as 500,000, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, and that number is growing pretty dramatically as new partners come into our website and new brands and packages come out. Another component that we're very excited about that's more recent for us is called BIECC. Back to the idea that we're trying to inspire and create passion and educate retailers, wholesalers, and consumers. We have a program called BIECC that delivers custom education to consumers, retailers, distributors in online format. This is something that's not meant to replace staff trainings, tastings, or any of those kind of things. It's meant to enhance it. BIECC is available free of charge to anybody that wants to use it 24/7. So we can go in and do a staff training and then refer that same staff to 2 or 3 BIECC modules that might be relevant to a program they're working on this particular month or any month, and have them review that information in those modules. They can take quizzes, tests, get certificates of completion. We can design custom curricula for specific retailers or for specific wholesalers. And I think it's got a great potential for us in an educational form where we're actually delivering the educational content. We're not just testing to see if somebody has the knowledge. We're actually delivering the material and then testing to see if they've absorbed that material.
Let's save some of this for the Q&A.
Okay. Social media, we're involved in Twitter, Facebook, and blogging. Been doing that for quite a bit of time. And I'll move on to this slide, which is just a quick screenshot of our website. This is the Indiana webpage. It's actually still labeled World Class Beverages. It'll be shifting to World Class Beer soon. But I want to just point out that our social media is consumed here. People can get BIECC, Beer Spy, Twitter, Facebook, all of the components we do, and brands, products, and packages specific to that market. So if somebody clicks into Indiana, they're seeing Indiana content. If somebody clicks into Manhattan, they're seeing Manhattan-based content, et cetera. The content is specific to that area. Since 2002, we started out as just World Class Beverages of Indiana. In 2006, we started getting interest from other wholesalers who wanted to do similar things. So we started sharing that website, now using it for 25 states and wholesalers. We embrace new media, Web 2.0, as I mentioned, where it's more interactive, and social media, and also mobile friendly. It was not a mobile optimized website up until summer last year, but we redesigned it so that it does function very well on mobile devices and smartphones, knowing how quickly that is growing in importance. Last slide is a little bit about results and return on investment, as Mark alluded to earlier. We have 3,000 plus influencers in Indiana listening to us through Facebook and Twitter. It doesn't sound like a huge number necessarily, but it's just in our market alone. And these are people who care about our message. These are people who are following us and listening to us because they're interested in what we have to say. They're interested in our brands and products. And these people indirectly influence an exponentially higher number of people. So on a given day, I might send out a tweet or make a Facebook post that could easily get to tens of thousands of people, if not more. We spend fewer dollars at World Class Beverages on traditional media. Mark mentioned out-of-home, billboards, et cetera, print, radio, television. We frankly just don't do very much of that at World Class Beverages. Most of our marketing and media goes out through social media. We can get immediate results. If somebody tells me right now, surprise, surprise, we're going to have an event this evening, I can get people to that event. I can get that message out that quickly. I'd rather have a week or two or more to help plan and prepare that and do that a little more strategically, but that can happen. And probably most importantly, we're positioning ourselves, I think, where this consumer lives and where consumers in general increasingly live. in this mobile, local, social space where they're making a lot of purchase decisions, getting a lot of information, and collecting a lot of information that's going to impact our business. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll turn it on to our next presenter.
Hi, I'm Brian from Elixir Distributing in Monterey, California, and I could probably spend about 30 minutes talking about this stuff, but I'll do my best to keep it under 5 for Kim. I'm just going to go over a few things for our experience, where we're at. Where we are today, we don't engage in social media, and it's not to say that we're against it. We're big supporters of it, but we like to focus on, strategically what brings the most value to our distributorship. And at this point, we don't see the value necessarily to our customers, which are retail licensed retailers, not the mass public. And I'll go into that in a minute. So we're going to talk about the opportunities, the risks, and obviously just what the social media strategy is at Elixir. The biggest issue with California is that in terms of engaging the consumer, which is the public, we can't provide anything of value, and it doesn't make sense to me. I did my homework. I talked to the ex-ABC director, who's now retired, but he's still consulting with the ABC. I talked to the state association on multiple conversations, and it's very clear that we can't promote things to the public, and there's all these things that we can't do. And that includes, we can't make special events promotions, we can't promote, specific retailers, and we can't give, say, if you come to this bar this night, you'll get this POS, giveaway. In addition, we can't have any proxy companies that are independent of Elixir but are somehow connected with it, as well as proxy websites to promote the bullet point above that. That's not to say we can't do a lot of other neat things like Monarch's doing, which I think they're doing a great job with everything Bob just mentioned. Just real quickly, this is our state law. It doesn't apply to anybody but California, but if you read the blue and the red, basically the only thing we can give is if someone asks, how can we locate this brand of beer, we can say, here are customers that sell this, where, here's their location. That's the one thing we can't give away. It's very frustrating for us because we're about 20 minutes from Silicon Valley. In fact, I live in Silicon Valley. I have friends that work at Apple, Yahoo, eBay, Google, Facebook. And I totally get the value of social media, but it's like, how do we harness this and have it translate to sales at Elixir? It's frustrating. So what we can do to engage the consumers, exactly what they're doing. The beer locator is great. The one thing I kind of hesitate with is, well, these guys already invented the wheel, and there's some other distributors have done as well. So should we piggyback with them? Shouldn't the suppliers, they have all our sales information anyways, shouldn't they provide a beer locator for us? And some of them I know do. So that's one of the things where we don't necessarily see the value of investing our resources in doing that ourselves, but that's something I think is a great value to our consumers. Provide knowledge base for brands, exactly what they're doing, create awareness for new products, and these don't necessarily have to be through social media products. What we do want to do is we really want to engage our customers, which are the licensed retailers, through social media avenues, and this is where I could spend a lot of time, but I'll cut it down to a minute. So I interviewed maybe 25 of some of our top-end retailers in terms of, what are you guys doing today with social media, and how can we at Elixir connect with you over social media, because we see that as the future and that's what people want. And the consensus is they don't want that from us. Some of them want to talk on the phone, some of them want our salespeople to come in, some of them don't mind email transactions back and forth, but flat out everyone said, I don't want to communicate over Facebook. Twitter, there are a couple of people that said, yeah, that'd be great. Twitter announcements, that sounds good. But on the flip side, they're all very successful with their usage of social media. So it's just, again, it's, where we're positioned at the distributor level, it's like, man, I wish we could, talk about promotions and, really engage in the consumer, which you can at certain levels, but in terms of where we want to focus on is the relationship with our licensed retailers. They're not necessarily interested in it in our part of the country, and I don't understand why, but they don't want that. Although they do want it for their, for the public, for their customers. So with that said, to me, it seems like a big disconnect. It's like they want to do that with their customers, but we're their customer too, and they just want nothing to do with social media, which again, that was a big surprise. I was shocked to hear that. With that said, opportunities for retailers, Twitter definitely seems like the best one for product announcements, and this is communicating back and forth with retailers, not with the public. I think Facebook is a great tool to complement, our website and to drive traffic to it. But again, most retailers aren't interested in that, which I don't understand why. Some of the risks, which you guys probably already know, this is no-brainers. Who controls the content at your distributorship? Do you have one person? Is it multiple people? Do you have segmented voices? In terms of retailers, in terms of Facebook or any other content-driven site where people can put stuff on there. I mean, it's good to hear Buffalo Wild Wings, your fans, kind of protect your brand. But you have one or two retailers that put some false information out there, and it's like, okay, well then you have to go into fire, to do some damage control, even though it may not be true. Nothing's private, and resources. If you want to do a good job, you want to put some resources into this. And the last slide is, it's not going away. Again, I have a bunch of stories I could have shared with you guys today about social media and how it's definitely not going away. I mean, Mark is right on the ball with everything he talked about. Everyone's going to continue to embrace social media, like his slide went to earlier. So at Elixir, we're going to continue talking to the retailers. We're going to try to, do some type of solution that works with everyone. And when the tipping point hits, a level where we feel this is the right time to really engage everyone, we're going to jump in. But just for some reason, we're not there yet at our marketplace. Hope that was a 5 minute.
Now, does he express a frustration about a lot of you in the room here? Yeah, and I think somewhere between what Bob's doing at Monarch and between what Brian's doing, there is this reality that how do we affect this ecosystem, or as I like to call it, a geekosystem? How do we actually feed this and at the same time, tend to our shop and make sure we comply with these laws?
Okay.
Exactly.
Put that on my chair here. Yeah, it's always fun to play sweep. Everyone else has had the good ideas. So, there we are. Well, that's not my slide, but
It is.
hi there, that's me. So, New Belgium is 20 years old this year. And in the beginning, there were table tents and shelf talkers. What I didn't put there was that I made those at Kinko's because it truly was my branch office at one time. And so our thinking about a multi-pronged approach has certainly evolved over time. We were fortuitously, sort of intuitively interested. Are we having, do you guys hear that? Yeah. Fortuitously promoting pull with our customers by doing barstool to barstool kinds of things and festivals. And so for us, that was a great way to begin to build brand strength in the early days. And then we've been able to kind of broaden our approach since that time and develop a little bit more of a comprehensive strategy. And certainly social media is playing a role in that. We started really working on things like Facebook in early 2008. And I think it is something that will lead the way with CMOs. Some of the statistics that Mark showed in the beginning are pretty compelling when you think about the number of millennials coming up that are moving into legal drinking age, and they're interested particularly in mobile apps. But one of the things I think we know for sure is that we will be integrating that across a few things. It won't just be our social media efforts. It will also be events like Tour de Fat, because as much as people like to be in contact with one another through their phones, we have a lot of experience to tell us that they also like to get together. And what's more social than beer? And, you can't drink beer over the telephone. So there's, I think there still is a place for events and other ways of promoting. There's a particular area that I'll focus on here because I think some of this has been covered. We chose Facebook. Early on in our process, we kind of were growing at the same time that Facebook was, and it was clear to us as we looked at other technologies that that was really for us because of the richness of the content, the ability to post videos. There were a lot of ways that we could use Facebook. And for a company our size, you have to start somewhere and focus, and we couldn't do all things. So that was kind of how we got going. Here are stats about Facebook. We're able to talk with, it's significantly more male than female, but we're working on that. And our total number of fans is, pretty respectable for a brewery our size. And I think the way that we approached this was we did it as we do pretty much everything else in-house. And that was really fortuitous because it allowed us to be very authentic in our expression. And I think that's one of the things that's really important with this. You hear about, I don't blog, for instance. You hear about CEOs who have someone else blog for them. And eventually people catch on to that kind of thing. You have to use the authentic voice of the organization. And for those of you who have been to New Belgium, we have some fairly authentic characters there who are able, I think, to represent us well, and they understand our voice pretty viscerally. If you've been to New Belgium, you kind of know it's in our DNA there. And so we're able to speak authentically, be sensitive in our approach. Someone talked about, don't market. Kathy talked about don't, get on to our conversation in Facebook because it becomes their conversation. There is an element of the brand being owned by our beer drinking customers, which is fabulous and really freaking scary at the same time. So, but it's here. And it's not going away. And we have to figure out ways to make sure that we are authentic, but that we're also sensitive and that we remember that it is a permissible strategy. They are giving us permission to be a part of their world. And that's a really delicate thing that I think we take very seriously. This is, let's see here. This is one of our Ranger pages. One of the things that Facebook does well for us is that it's also a visual media. So we're a pretty visually rich brand, and we can express that across Facebook in ways that you couldn't say with Twitter. Or there are other, Foursquare is certainly a different kind of strategy, but it's not a place you can go to get the visual look of a company. And our brand voice is pretty strong, both in its visual and verbal look. We are able to post videos that up in the top left is Peter Buchard, our brewmaster, and for him to be able to have, we have probably 3 or 4 videographers in-house, so we're making video all the time that we're posting so people can hear about new things that we're doing. The place, though, that I want to focus more here, Kathy also said something that I wrote down, which is that fans will come to your rescue. That's been an interesting thing. You see someone post something, it might be about something that happened at a Tour de Fête or about a beer or whatever, about, New Belgium is fairly outspoken in things that matter to us, and there might, we may have a beer drinking customer who sort of responds to that. And it's incredible what our fans will do to protect us. And it's really very, my first instinct is to want to say, oh yeah, and another thing, well, you don't know that. And I don't do that because if I wait, fans will do that for me. And there's, as we all know, there's nothing more powerful than that kind of third party endorsement of your sweetness and goodness. So for us, that works out pretty well. We started doing some Facebook advertising so that we could one of the things as a larger brewer that we're always looking at is how do we become local? How do we sort of fit into the more local community? These are about 16 cents per customer per click. So that's not too bad given, other things that we spend money on, and we're able to, we actually have changed these. When our creative director saw this slide, she said, oh, they're much better looking now. But it does give us a way to have people, geolocated to particular areas, and those ads pop up, and we're able to garner more fans, which is pretty nice. In April of 2010, we launched a beer called Ranger, which is an IPA. And we named it Ranger because the people who work for us who sell our beer are called Rangers. And they had been sort of engaged in a conversation with us about, we need an IPA, we're a Belgian brewery, make an IPA. No, we're not doing that. And it took us a while to kind of get it together. But when we did decide to do that, we named the beer after their great effort to push us in that direction. And we decided that this would be a really good place to tie our efforts back to actual people in particular localities. So any ranger can have a part of either the regional page or a page of a New Belgium Ranger page of their own. We have QR codes so that they can, you know, our customers can go on and kind of get entry into those areas. But, and we also conversely say to the people who aren't into it, that's okay, you don't have to do it. Because there's nothing worse than having someone who says, you know, one of my performance metrics is how many times I blog or, you know, have some kind of social media output. And, you know, it's sort of like, it's okay, I'm going to do the blogging, and here we go, we're going to blog now. You know, and beer drinkers don't care about that. They care about enthusiasm. The people who are good at it, we make sure that they have great, they all actually get iPhones so that they can use, you know, the technology that seems to work the best in our minds. That's a, if there's a disclaimer thing, that was it right there. So they can, for instance, we're using, I think it's Facebook Places more than we're using Foursquare. So we'll have a ranger who's in an account, and he sees that he has fans in that account, and he can talk to them right there and say, hey, if you come find me, I'll buy you a beer. And so that guy is, and of course that's only where it's legal, which in some markets it is. And this is sort of another dynamic that I think is interesting. The interpretation of the law around online social media kinds of interactions, what kind of spend in that is very dicey at this point. We feel like it will get sorted out, and that we can't sit on the sidelines and say, well, until every, you know, possible known anachronistic wrinkle in the law is worked out, we can't do anything. So in the places where we know that it's not legal, we don't do that. But in the places where it is, it gives them an opportunity to meet people face to face, to develop relationships. That guy who they find maybe has 4 people with him who aren't fans, and now they're going to be fans because they just got a beer and they want to be sure some other time they could get a beer. It might be a midnight bike ride that he's going on, or a 10 o'clock, you know, bar to bar beer hunt kind. You know, there are all kinds of different ways that our rangers are able to use this. We have several people who also blog, so they talk about what they made for dinner with a particular beer, you know, what music they saw and what beer they were drinking. So it really does allow the rangers to develop deep and meaningful local relationships with people, and we found that to be really helpful. We also...
we're getting cut off.
Okay.
We're getting the call.
Regional pages, we do that. We provide content for them from the mothership so that they don't have to create the whole thing themselves, but they can easily add with a back-end program their software to be able to do that. We did a social campaign and raised almost $10,000 for the American Humane Society, working with Outside Magazine and doing things on Facebook. Allowing people to post their videos and stories about their own dogs. And so I'll stop here with my good advice to you, which is what one of my rangers said to me. After 1.5 beers, put the phone or the keyboard down, because our customers want us to be clever and kind. So thank you very much.
We're at the end of our time here, and I'm sorry we didn't, I'm probably the biggest offender of the clock management here, and I'm sure one of your referees would have thrown the yellow flag at me earlier for this, but Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to attend. Hopefully you got some of what we're trying to get out of this to understand how important the solo mow is to your business and how transformative it is and really demand more from your marketers and suppliers along those lines. Would you join me in welcoming, thanking the great presentation we got today?
I'd love to stay in touch with you.
Yeah, I think you guys are doing great stuff.
Appreciate it.
Nice meeting you, boss.
Nice to meet you.
I've known a friend of both. Oh, back when I was at you guys back in December of last year. You guys
Hi, how are you?
everything you're doing is awesome.
I didn't know you were over today.
I could have spent a lot more time talking about stuff, we looked at, but it's, you guys kind of nailed it.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming tonight, too.
Yeah. We are really working hard at balancing capacity with demand. So with building. That's what we're saying right now. Not every, permutation of that capacity demand model is modeled. Yeah, it is a nice problem, but it's still a problem. Yeah, absolutely. You just wanted to say that, you guys read CSU.
Well, we didn't see them.
You stopped us. Yeah, dust. You made them into dust. Yeah, no, it's all right. You got to stand up there and earn it. So,
Say hi, this is Dan.
Rush? Yeah, he's a good guy. He's been with us for a while, but he moved up from SoCal, and we're really glad he did. So, nice to meet you. I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, I'd love to have it. Oh, there's one right up the street from us. Did you get it? Let me get it.
He's a sweetheart and a nut job besides. Yeah, good.
Why you marketing?
I know Ellen pretty well. Yeah, good.
I'm going to go to Mr. Miller. Is that for you?
Yeah.
Bob will play too. Yeah, friend me too.
Absolutely. Production approved.
Yeah, amazing how much material. It's actually the translation of the material into the model format. That's our model. Have a good one. We're trying to get to a point where we can have greens and material. But it's all good. The upside is there.
Good, thanks. How are things with you? Yeah, boy, I know that. Yeah, boy. Thank you so much. It was Friday, and we had a party last night, and at about 12:30, I said, "You guys have got to get out of here. I have to get up early to get the plane." So, yeah, I kicked them out. They are. I don't know if BK's here. Joe is definitely here, and Christine is here. So, yeah. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
You want to touch my on. I'd love to stay in touch with you. I think there's so many subjects we want to. Our strategy this season is to focus on craft. We're opening up 6 additional lines. There's a look at craft and local, and I just.
That's okay. I'll send you my contact. In text where I text you. I'm with you. That's where I